Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to you all for being here and talking with us on this today. It's so interesting to me how the American people have become so aware of the Chinese Communist Party and their tendency to spy on Americans, and they try to find any little entry point in the technologies that we use on a daily basis. And part of the problem with this is so much of our citizens' transactional life is actually conducted virtually. And people are now dependent on that, and they appreciate the efficiencies of that. And one of the things that we have looked at is and Senator Blumenthal and I have worked on these issues from several different angles, but looking at how they use drones, how they use apps, how they use cranes, you name it. They are always looking for a more efficient way to spy on us. Now, one of the things we realized they had started to use is routers and the embedding of malware into these routers. And of course, the U.S. had hackers used routers to target some of our critical infrastructure and water systems. And Director Ray brought this up in one of our hearings, that what they were doing was pre-positioning themselves to carry out a larger attack. So we know this is here. So Senator Lujan and I introduced the Routers Act, which would give us an ability to guard against these cyber threats. And it's a pretty simple bill because it requires Commerce to review the national security threat that comes from some of these routers and technologies that are developed, manufactured, or supplied coming out of China. And also we added to that Russia, Iran, North Korea, Cuba, and Venezuela. So they're doing a study on this so that Congress can then take further action after we have better insight into this. But Mr. Myers, I want to come to you first. I want you to speak for a minute on the importance of understanding this landscape and the appreciation of the threat that is actually in front of us, and why a study like the Routers Act is so important.
Thank you, Senator. The routers, like much of the other technology, part of the underlying infrastructure, represent, in many cases, an unmanaged or unmonitored system. In other words, with endpoint technology, laptops, desktops, servers, network infrastructure is often not instrumented to collect information, telemetry, for security analysts and threat hunters to be able to evaluate what's happening on that system. Routers are also frequently internet accessible, meaning a threat actor can touch that from anywhere in the world. It's not protected behind firewalls or things, security appliances. And the routers are often very constrained in terms of space, so they don't have a lot of room for security tools and for security capabilities to be built onto them. And they're meant for speed. They're meant to route packets from point A to point B as quickly as possible. So routers have become increasingly targeted by nation-state threat actors, especially groups from China like Vanguard Panda and Salt Typhoon, because they are unmanaged. There's no security layer around that, and it gives them the ability to intercept and redirect traffic very effectively.
Thank you. Mr. Stalin, I want to come to you. Did I say your name right, Stalin?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Wanted to be sure of that. Senator Warner and I have introduced legislation that would promote U.S. standards and promote our leadership in standard setting, which when we look at China and the threat there, we feel that retaining that leadership is vitally important. I'd like to get you to weigh in on that and see where you are on that standard setting ability.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate that. And the bill that you're talking about, the Promoting U.S. Leadership in Standards Act with yourself and Senator Warner is very important. Honestly, I think the U.S. has lost a lot of its standard leadership, and it's for a variety of reasons. We as a globe have become more regionalized. China is setting up its own set of standards. Europe is setting its own set. India is even heading down that path, and then the U.S. separately. There have been some questions over the past 5 to 10 years about should we be at the table with companies like Huawei when it comes to setting standards. And if we're not, they're going to overwhelm us. It's a typical Chinese methodology of how they win. They win in mass. And if we're not at the table, they will drive these international standards. We need to have international standards, and there has to be U.S. leadership there, as there had been for decades. But that takes time, it takes money. And in a very competitive environment, a lot of companies have scaled back their leadership team, related to standards, because they're trying to increase their gross margin. So it's really critical that the U.S. build back our leadership in standards and be at the table globally and help drive global standards.
Thank you. I've got one more question. May I go ahead with this? Mr. Bresnick, your report you did this summer on the PRC perspectives on the challenges, I'd like to ask you about quantum. This is something that at Commerce Committee we've looked at a good bit, and we're trying to get the quantum initiative reauthorized for the U.S., and some of us have a quantum sandbox bill. But I'd love for you to just talk for a second about how concerned you are about the CCP's investments into quantum and the risk that presents.
Thank you for the question. Unfortunately, I am not really positioned to answer that question very well because that paper doesn't dive into quantum very much. I'm happy to, write to you to, do some research and write to you.
Submit that one for the writing,
Okay.
for the record. I would love to hear from you on that and get your perspective. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Senator Blackburn.